In the last session, we have started discussing how to automate different Selenium, different web elements using Selenium. So as part of that, we have covered like checkboxes, how to automate radio buttons, and we have also seen like how to handle the alerts and also, you know, we have seen I think we have seen frames also, right? Yeah. So we have seen frames as well. Now in this session, we will discuss about dropdowns, how to automate dropdowns. So what are dropdowns? Let's take an example. So dropdowns are a list of values. So when we click on some button or a link, so we'll get a list of values. So from that, we can actually select some values, one or more values. So in some cases, it will allow only one value. In some cases, we can actually select more than one value, right? So for example, if you see here, this is simple dropdown. So if you select on this, you will get you have two options here. We call this as options, two options, option 1 and option 2, right? So you can select either option 1 or option 2, right? So in the same way, we can have multiple as well. So multiple select options as well. We'll see that. Like in this case, we can select only one option, right? So yeah, if you see this is another dropdown which has four options, four values. You can select any of these options here, right? Here we have something called country, right? So we have a list of countries here and you can select any country from this list, right? So this is what we call it as a dropdown. And we can select one value from this dropdown. So there could be some other dropdowns where you could select more than one item or more than one option within this dropdown, right? So we'll see this, how to automate, how to, select, how to automate dropdown with in which we can select one option. So let's take this as an example. I wanted to select my desired country here, right? So how do we automate this? So let's automate this now. I'll create a new package for today. We'll call it as day30 and we'll create a new class. I'll call it as dropdown example. So I'll create a WebDriver instance and we'll instantiate to Chrome driver. So which launches the Chrome browser. And then we will navigate to the particular URL. This URL. And once when we navigate, we wanted to maximize the window. So after maximizing, we wanted to automate this dropdown, right? So how do you automate this? Let's inspect this element. So we do have three dropdowns here. These two are like have four options. The first simple dropdown has only two options. I'm taking a dropdown which has many options, like which has almost all the countries here. So let's see this as an example. Maybe you can take this as an assignment and you can practice this other two. All right. So when we inspect this element, you can see here, right? So the corresponding element. So if you see here, there is something, it has a tag called select. So which is new to us, right? So the dropdowns will usually have the tag as select. Like if it is a checkbox, right? So we usually have checkbox or input fields, we'll have the tag input, right? If it is a link, we'll have an anchor tag which is represented using A, like that, right? So in the same way, if it is a drop down, we'll have a tag called select, something like this, select, right? And within the select, right? So you'll have the options. So option and a value is an attribute of option tag, and an inner text within the option, which you can see it here, right? That is an inner text which is seen here. That's a visible text here, right? So option is a tag which will have an attribute called value and an inner text, which we can call that as like visible text. That's visible on the UI. Whatever is put here within this option tag will be visible on the UI, right? So like this, we have one value, one option tag for one value here. So this we are gonna automate. So first, let us actually inspect this, and it has select ID equal to country and name equal to country, right? So go to selector sub, and we can take this relative XPath here, or it has an ID, right? We can even go with ID equal to country or by dot name equal to country as well. We don't need to go for XPath even. Driver dot find element. Let's go with ID this time. It's country, right? So let's copy it. So let's capture this in a web element. I'll call this as drop down element. All right, now we have this. So how do we get it, this web element? So we are able to inspect it, but how do we actually read these options within it? So using this drop down element. So we usually find the element, inspect the element, and write it in the find element method, right? We capture it like that. And then we'll use this web element to perform the actions. So if you see here, you can't actually use send keys method here. It's not an input field. You can't use click method here. It's not a link or a button, right? So how do we handle this? We wanted to actually select one of these options within the dropdown. So how do we select it? And also if you try to do right click on this, right, on any of these options, so that is not possible to inspect, right? So how do we actually automate it? So for actually handling the dropdowns, we have some special class called select. So there is a special class called select. So select some object name, new select of, you can provide the drop-down element here. So select is a new class. org.openqa.selenium.support.ua. So it is coming from this package. Import this package. So select is the class which we'll use to handle the drop-downs in Selenium. So once you find the element of the drop-down, right? So we have to pass that web element to the select class like this. Then this select class will be able to know about the drop-down. And from there, we can handle the drop-down. Like how do we handle? So what we wanted to do? We wanted to select some country here, right? So any of these countries. So drop-down, you can use this object now. Select object dot. So all that we wanted to do is we wanted to select some value, right? So we do have three methods for this: select by visible text, select by value, select by index. So I'll take select by visible text. Visible text is whatever you see on the UI. So drop down dot select by visible text. I'm passing one option here. We usually call this as options, right? within this dropdown, whatever are there, we call this as options. So I have select by visible text is a method which I used, and I passed one option within it, so that this option will be selected within the dropdown. Right? So yeah, and then how do we actually know if this is selected or not? We can clearly see that on the when we run the script, we can clearly see that the value will be selected within the dropdown. But still, if you wanted a confirmation that what has been selected in the dropdown, we have a method called dropdown dot get first selected option. Get first selected option. So this actually gives you the selected option. Get text. This is a web element. So if you see, this returns web element. Dot get text actually gives you what the value has been selected in the dropdown. So this is a string, right? So we can capture that in the string, or we can directly print it on the console. I can just say selected option by visible text. So what did we do here? We navigated to a URL where we have a dropdown. So where we have a dropdown element. So we are able to inspect that element. So till here, nothing new for us. And only new thing is select class. So we'll be using a class called select, where we'll pass the dropdown element to it. So with the select object, we can handle the drop-down options. So we wanted to select the options within the drop-down. So we'll use this select object. So drop-down is a select object, select class object, right? So drop-down dot, we have different methods to select we have three methods to select the options within the drop-down. So first we have used select by visible text. So we will see select by value, then select by index as well. We'll see that. First, let's understand select by visible text. Visible text is whatever we see here in the UI, that is visible text, or you can grab it from here. Within the option tag, you'll have some value, right? So that value we call it as visible text. So then we wanted to print it on the console. So dropdown actually provided, sorry, the select class object. Dropdown is a select class object, right? So select class actually provided some other method called get first selected option, which actually gives you the returns the selected option within the dropdown dot get text. This is a web element. From this web element, we wanted to extract the text. We used a get text method. Now let's run this script. It's taking a long time to load. Yeah, navigates to the particular URL, maximizes the window, and you can see, yeah, from the country selection. So it selected India, which the value we wanted to select, right? Select by visible text. And you can also see selected option by visible text. So it actually displayed what has been selected on the UI, right? So this is how you can actually select the option from the drop down using select by visible text method, right? So now let's see another option. So we'll see select by value, or we can go with not 7, select by value, right? So let's see select by value. Drop down dot select by value. So select by value method takes string as an input. This value. So what is this value? Select by value. So if you go back, let me close this. So value is value attribute. So it is not this value. So this is visible text. So the value is value attribute. So whatever you see within this option tag, there is some attribute called value, right? So this and this are not the same if you observe. So say for example, if you take Albania, right? So AL is the value of this option, but Albania is the actual visible text, right? So if you are using select by visible text, then we'll provide this Albania. But if you are using select by value, we have to use this value called value attribute, right? The value of the value attribute. So where we'll have this attribute in the tag called option, right? So this value has to be provided, right? So select by value. So let's select some value which is at the bottom. So you can't assure that the value will be like abbreviation of the country. Say for example, you see this United Kingdom, right? So it's not UK. United States, it's US, right? United Kingdom, it's something called GB. So it would be different. So I'll be taking this value so that it has to select United Kingdom. Let's see that. I'm commenting out the other ones. Select by value, GB, select option by value. Now let us see. So what did we do here? Instead of select by visible text, we used a different method to select the options within the dropdown. So the method is called select by value here. So select by value. So how do which takes the string as a parameter, and what is the parameter? What string it accepts is, so whatever has been there for the attribute value that can be provided there. So within the option tag, we'll have an attribute called value. The value of that has to be provided there to the select by value method. And you can clearly see here country selection, right? So it has selected United Kingdom. So which has the value as GB. We have seen that. And you can see that displayed on the console as well, right? So this is how you can use the select by value method to select an option within the dropdown. Now, we'll see one more method, last method called select by index. So index starts with 0. We can provide index here, which actually starts with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So index actually starts with 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's actually select by index. So we can understand it by actually providing it with 0, right? And then we'll get the text by index. Select option by index. So index, how do we get it? We actually start, you can see the values here, right? So these values or these options, you have to start with index 0, and then you have to count it. Say, for example, I wanted to get the first value, then you have to provide the index as 0. Second value, you'll provide the index as 1, right? Like that. So let's actually test it. I'm providing 0 here. Select by index method takes integer as a parameter, which is an index. So options within the dropdown will have an index starting with 0. So accordingly, so if there are less options, then we can go with the index. We have to count the index within the options and we have to provide that particular index. Yeah, it counts this select country. So we do have something which is grayed out select country. Even that is unsupported operation exception, right? So you may not select a disabled option. So it was trying to select the select country option. So even that was considered as an option. So it doesn't know, right? So within the dropdown, what are all the options it has? So it considers everything as an option. So there was an option called select country, which was disabled. So that was actually counted as the first index, right? So you can actually provide some 3 here, which should actually select fourth in the list, which actually selects fourth in the list, right? So what's fourth in the list? So if you observe, even select country is treated as one value, right? One index. So select country, we can treat it as 0, 1, 2, 3. So this has to be displayed now. Albania. This has to be selected. Yeah, we can see Albania has been selected, right? So you can see selected option by index Albania. So we have to understand, we need to provide this index. We have to count it manually, and then whatever index we wanted to pass, we can pass that index, right? So index actually starts with 0. Considers first value, even if it is disabled, right? Like select country. First value as index 0, even if it is disabled, like select country is what I'm providing here, right? So this is about like 3 methods. How do you select an option within a dropdown? Select by visible text, select by value, and select by index. Right? Now we will see how do you actually get the all options. Or say for example, I wanted to know how many countries are there, how many options are there within this dropdown. There are so many countries, right? So many options within this dropdown. I wanted to get the size of it. So how do you get it? We have a method called, so we'll use dropdown, which is a select class object. Dropdown dot, there is an option called get options. So which actually will give you all the options present in the dropdown, which is actually returning list of web elements. If you observe, it is returning list of web elements. Get options is a method which we'll use to get all the options within the dropdown, which is actually returning list of web elements. I'll capture that into a list of web elements. I'll call that as list of options. And we can import list from java.util package. All right. So now we have the list. What we are interested in, we wanted the count of it. So from list, how do you get the count? We can use the method called size to get the count of the list, right? So this list is capturing all the options within the dropdown. So we capture that into a list of web elements, and list has a method called size, which will actually give you the count of the elements which are present in the list, right? So let's actually, this size actually is returning integer value, right? So size is an integer, right? So let's capture that into an integer. I'll call this as options count, or you can say countries count as well. So we can just say number of countries, options count. Right? This actually displays the number of countries in the dropdown. So along with that, I wanted to print all options in the dropdown. So how do we do that? All options in the dropdown we wanted to print. So how can we do that? We can use an enhanced for loop, where as this is a list, for this whole list, So read each web element, each option, and then just display its name. Option dot get text. Option is a web element, right? So we'll extract the text from it using the get text method. So how do we print all the options in the dropdown? So we do have the list of options already. So from this list of options, how do we write the enhanced loop? So we wanted to read each element from this list. So each element, so what it has? It has all web elements, right? So for each web element present in this list of options, so how we are denoting it with? So we are representing each web element with option, right? So for each option within this list options, so get the text and display it on the console is what we are seeing, right? So this is how we can actually display all options present within the dropdown. And we also got the size of the dropdown. That is number of options present within the dropdown. So in this case, number of countries. We are automating a dropdown which has countries, right? Countries list. So that count, the number of options present within the dropdown will be displayed. And also all the text, right? All the countries will be displayed. We are not selecting anything, but what did we do? Yeah. So if you see here, it actually displayed. So starting from here, number of countries 252. So we tried actually to display that, right? From the list count, from the list, right? We use size method to get the count of that countries, right? So we got this number of countries were 252, it seems. There are 252 options here. So all options in the drop down has been displayed here, right? So you can see it starts with select country. So if you see, select country was also treated as one value within the drop down. So it might be disabled or it might be grayed out, but it doesn't know. Even this will be considered as one value. Even that has been selected. And you can see, so in reality, you can say there are only 251 countries. So even this was, you know, uh, considered as one country, right? So, but that's not a country. It's a label which we had, right? So excluding this, we have 251 countries. And you can see all the countries here, names of the countries, which are present in the drop-down, right? Say, for example, we wanted to exclude this. We don't want it to display this first option. So how can we do that? In that case, what we can do is, we can just use traditional for loop instead of enhanced for loop. And index usually starts with 0, right? So list index actually starts with 0, right? What we can do, I'll start with 1. So this is intentional. We don't wanted the first index because it's a select country, right? So it's not an actual country name. So we wanted to exclude that. List options dot, we will use a get method. So there is a method called get within the list, right? So we can pass an index to it so that we can retrieve the option which is present at that element which is present at that particular index, right? So this will actually return us a web element in our case, right? So because list contains all the options, each option is a web element. So from that, we are trying to get the text. And why are we using a traditional for loop here? So we wanted to use the index here. So we wanted to use the index. So we are using this option, index. We wanted to use the index because we wanted to exclude the first value. So the first index was like, actually index starts with 0. We are starting with 1 because we wanted to exclude that option which was select country. So even that was treated as a value, right? So we wanted to exclude that and print the options in the dropdown. So we started the index with 1 until options count less than options count, right? And then what did we do? For each index from the list of options dot, get of index. We are passing that index to the get method within the list. And then we are displaying the text within it. So in some cases, if you wanted to exclude the value, first value, right? So this is how you can actually display the values. You can just exclude the first index. You can see number of countries as the same count, all options in the drop down. So this time it actually starts with the index 1. Index 0 has been skipped, right? So that select country is not displayed now. It starts with the first country. Now you only see the country names here within the drop down. All these are all options or countries within the drop down, right? So this is how you can actually display all the options within the drop down. So this is how you can actually select one value from a drop down. Everything clear? If everything clear, we can actually go for next topic. So we'll see another example on drop down. So if you see here, it's a Bootstrap demo. So we call this as Bootstrap Dropdown. So if you see here, this is a dropdown. If you select on this, this is a button, right? So if you click on it, so you'll get a list of options here within the dropdown. See web development and some options. And if you observe, so each option is a checkbox here. So it's a checkbox. So if it is a checkbox, we can select more than one option, right? So I can select like this. More than one option can be selected within this dropdown, right? So multi-select. So this is called multi-select dropdown. So we'll see now how to automate this. Each option has one checkbox. So we can actually use this checkbox to select this item or this option, right? So to automate this, we need to inspect this element first, this button or this link, right? Whatever it is. So right click on it. So if you see here, this is the multi-select selected text something, right? So which has 7 selected in it. All right. But if you expand this, it has this option, all these options, right? So you can see here multi-select container and it has list of items in it. So each one is represented with one li tag. Li represents list and it is under ul tag. Ul is unordered list, right? It has class. So when you hover on this ul tag, it is selecting all the options within it, and within it, each option is represented with one li tag, right? So li, and it's a anchor tag. It's a link within it, right? It's a label, web development, and you can see the next one. Li, within that there is some anchor tag. Within it we have a label, and within the label, so the class name is checkbox, right? So the input type is checkbox. And it has the actual value, inner text is jQuery, or this is the actual label, right? So this is how the structure is. So if you notice here, we don't have select tag, right? So if we have the select tag, we can use the select class here, right? So we can use the select class, which here we use the select class and we created an object. So this is because we had the select tag, right? So we can create the select class and pass that element to that select class. But here if you observe, we don't have the select tag. So here it is all it started, right? So it's a button. So we don't have the select class. So how do we actually automate this then? How do we identify the options within it, within this dropdown? It doesn't have the select class, right? It is a multi-select, so that's fine. We can select more than one element, but it doesn't have the select tag. And now we wanted to automate this dropdown. So if it would have the select tag, then we would have used the select class to automate it, to automate the dropdown, but it doesn't have the select class. So how do we automate it? So in this case, we will depend on the XPath, right? We will depend on the Selenium locators to locate these elements. So there is no other choice, no alternate for this. So let's try to automate this now. I'll create a new class. We'll call this as, this type of dropdowns are called as Bootstrap Dropdown. It will not have the select tag, but it will still be it is still a dropdown. So in that case, we'll use XPath or other Selenium locators. We'll navigate to this URL. Then we wanted to click on this, right? First, so let's inspect this element. So if you see, it's a button, right? Within the button, it has pan class. So first, let's refresh this. This is the original condition of it. So if you hover on this, so it has pan class within the button type. So it's a button, right? So you see, you can, if you click on it, it's a button. So let's go for selector sub also. So even it says button, right? Button title equal to this one, but you can't take this as the relative XPath. So why we can't take this? So it is says HTML CSS, right? Say for example, I am gonna select this one option. So this will be changed, right? So we can't depend on it. So let's try to write our own XPath now. So using this button, right? So if you say this button, that's fine. It is able to identify it, but it has to be unique, right? So it has to be unique. You can even give button. I think it is selecting only one. There is only one button, but it's always safe. You actually provide one more attribute to it. So there could be some hidden elements, right? So how do we actually write it? You can take the class. So you can see there are no more attributes. So title we can't depend. So title will be changed. This attribute title will be changed depending upon the selection of the options within the dropdown. So we can't depend on it. So there is no other stable attribute here, right? So we can see class. We do have class. We can take the class and write something like this. So it is matching. This is fine, but if you see it has some spaces in it and it's a lengthy, right? So you don't need to actually select, you don't need to write the whole string here. So maybe we can provide till here, and then we can just say contains method. We can use a method called contains. This is a XPath method. If you remember, we have learned this. Contains class. So what's the class name? What's the part of the class name? This one, right? This part. We can provide something like this. You have to close the method and then close this square brace. See, it is now identifying uniquely. So you can even use button, but just to be sure that it is actually uniquely selected. So you are using this, right? We are using class attribute here. We can use the complete class name, but it's lengthy, right? So we just wanted to have a substring of it. So we use just multi-select, right? And we use the contains method, which is an XPath method, which actually verifies the part of the, which actually part or substring of it, right? So multi-select is a substring. So that we are verifying if it is present within the class value. Button is a tag. So button is a tag, right? So this is the complete XPath of this button of this dropdown. So driver dot find element by dot XPath. You can pass this. And we have to click on it. It's a button, right? We have to click on it. This actually pops up or opens the dropdown, right? This opens the dropdown. All right. Now, what we wanted to do? Let's actually select one option here first. The default selected are HTML and CSS, right? So I wanted to select one option here. Let's say, for example, I wanted to select Java, right? So we wanted to select Java. So let's inspect this element called Java. So you can use the related XPath as well here. Or this is what it is selected, right? So if you go here within this label, so it has an input tag as well. See, input tag, which says input type equal to checkbox, fine, and it has a value called Java, and you can take the related XPath from the selector sub. Driver dot find element by dot XPath Java is the value which we want to select, right? Dot click. Okay, we have to close it. Dot click. It's a checkbox. So if you observe, this is input type equal to checkbox. See, it is exactly pointing to the checkbox, right? So we wanted to click on that checkbox, right? So we actually we inspected that value. So over on this, we will get this input type equal to checkbox. I just got the related XPath from there. And we are clicking on it. So this is how we actually select a single option. Select single option, right? So, okay, let's actually run till here. Yeah, you can see that now. The default ones are HTML, CSS, but it actually selected Java as well, right? All right. So this is how you actually select the single option. Now I wanted to select, or I wanted to get the count of all these options. I wanted to find out how many values, how many options are there within this dropdown. So just now we have seen, right? We can use the get options method, but when can we use get options method? When we have the select class object. So get options is a method of select class, but we don't have the select class here. So if you observe, we didn't write any select class here, but we are still able to automate the dropdown just using the Selenium locators, right? So we don't have the get options method. So how do we get it then? So till now, like if you wanted to find more than one element, right, in using Selenium, so the method which we use is find elements, right? So the common XPath for all these elements has to be selected. So how do you do that? Let's see. So this is web element, and if you see here, so if I hover on this, this is multi-select item, multi-select group file. If you hover on this, so it is actually giving you something, which is actually selecting the complete drop down here, right? So this part, right? So within this, so we wanted the individual labels, right? So if you see here, under UL or unordered list, we have one LI. Each LI is representing one element, one option here. See, if I hover on this, each LI is a tag which is representing list item, right? So each one is representing one option here. So on all these LIs are under this UL, right? So we can take this as an XPath. So UL class equal to multi-select container, and within that we have this LIs, each LI. Say for example, the first LI. So if you take this is a web element. So let's start with the second one. So if you expand this LI, you have something called anchor tag, and you have the label within it. So this is all what we are interested in. So we don't want it to select this. If at all we wanted to select this, we can actually have this input type equal to checkbox. But we wanted to just have the label of it. So within the label, we have two things if you observe. So label within the label, right? So label tag started here and it ends here. Within that, it has two things, a checkbox and a label. So we are not interested to click on the checkbox, but we wanted to read the label, right? So that we can actually print it later, right? So we wanted this label, right? So this is present within this label, right? So what we can do here is UL is a class, parent class for all these list items. This is fine. Then slash label. So if you select this, so 14 items got selected here, right? So if you see 14 items got selected, which is actually representing each label or each option here. Again, the class has it's lengthy, right? So we can just shrink it, or we can just have the substring of it. So to do that, we have to use the contains method. Contains class, comma, contains method take 2 parameters. That's it. It is selecting 14 elements. This XPath is matching 14 elements. So how did we do this? So first we need to take the common class. Common class is UL, unordered list, right? From this, we have selected an attribute called class. Class was lengthy, so we used contains method, where we can provide the substring of it. Fine. And then we wanted within this UL, we don't wanted the complete part. We wanted only label out of it, right? But label is not just immediate after UL, right? It has some LI. And again, it has some anchor tag. So we have used the related XPath from here again. So this is the part which is actually selecting the complete drop-down options. And then from here, so wherever the label is, I wanted that label, right? So label is not just after this. So if it was just after it, we would have given only one slash. So as it was there after some two levels, right? So then we have to use related XPath from there. So we have used related XPath from here. / label, because we are interested in label, fetching the label within the LI or within this unordered list. So it has LI. So you can see, or you can, if it is confusing you, right? So you can even have something like this, LI / label as well. Multi-select LI / label. Okay, maybe you have to provide the class as well here. Label. Again, you need to provide class. Class as checkbox, right? So instead of all this, what we can do is we can directly have the label from here. So we got that, right? So we are just using relative XPath from here after the unordered list, because this label is not immediately after that unordered list, right? So within UL, we have LIs. So within each LI, we have some hierarchy, anchor tag. Within that, we have the label. All that we are interested in is to fetch this label. So we can just use the label. If you wanted to click on it, so we can take this input tag, which has the type checkbox, but we don't want it to select all that, but we just wanted the labels out of it. So we can just use this XPath. Now let's take this XPath. We'll go here, driver.findElement, y.xpath. We'll use this label. These are not only one element, right? So these are the list of web elements. So find elements. We have to use the method called find elements, which actually returns a list of web elements. I'll call this as options. These are all different options, right? Now, in order to get how many options we have, So we can just say number of options. Options dot size. It's a list again, right? So options dot size is the method which we'll use. All right. With this, we'll get the size. That is count of number of the options within the dropdown. And I wanted to print all the options. So for this again, we can use enhanced for loop. This we can call it as list of options. From this list of options, we wanted to read each web element. This you can call it as option. And from each option, we wanted to get the text. And we wanted to display it on the console. This we have seen in the earlier example also, right? So how do we print all the options? We can just use the enhanced for loop here, as we have the list of web elements, right? So what did we do here? So single select option is already there. We already automated it. I'll just comment it out. So what did we do new here is we wanted to find the count of all the options within the dropdowns. So for that, we have got a common XPath, which will actually select all the elements. So it was like 14, right? We have seen 14. I think it was 14. Yeah, 14 elements matching. So that we have captured it in the using find elements method. So find elements method will return a list of web elements. We have captured that into a list of web elements. So this object, and using that we are trying to get the print the count of it. So for that we have used the size method, and we wanted to print all the options within it. So we have used the enhanced for loop for that. All right. Now let's execute this and verify. Yeah, now if you go back, yeah, you can see the number of options are 14, right? And you can see this, all the options displayed on the console, right? All right. Now, if I wanted to select, if I wanted to do multi-selection, multiple selections, right? So that is what we are interested in, right? So we have checkbox here and we wanted to select multiple options here. Say for example, like this, I wanted to select. So how can we do that? Now that we have the list of options, list of web elements, all the list of web elements. So how can we do that? We don't need to do it like this, right? So you can either use this driver.find element and then you can have three statements written here, right? Like this. And then this is one way. You can just have this like this. You can just verify the XPath here for these elements. Say for example, right click on it, Python. So let me get this the bottom of the page. And you can see this input and it's a label Python, right? So you can directly get this input equal to okay, this is not the actual window. This is the actual window. Okay. So what we could do, select on Python, for example, and I wanted to select this checkbox, right? So you can just take the value like this, input value equal to Python. That's what I have taken here. And input value equal to, say for example, maybe Oracle. Like this, you can take and select it. No issues, right? But this is repetition, right? So whenever you see something repeated, right? So which is redundant, so you have to use a loop. You have to use a loop. There is nothing wrong doing like this as well. So even if you see here, it will actually select these options. But whenever you have the, some redundant code, then you have to use a loop. Say for example, if you wanted to select more than 3 values, right? So in that case, you need to write one more statement. We are just repeating the statements which actually are differing only by value. So in that case, we have to write some logic, some loop and write some logic. See, it selected Java, Python, Oracle, right? So this we wanted to do with a loop. So let's do it. Try to do it. So for this, again, like we can use the enhanced for loop. We can use the same code here, enhanced for loop. But this time, we will have some condition. We don't want it to display this, right? But what we can do is, from this list of options, for each option, we will get the text out of it. What's the label, right? For each option, we'll get the text and then we'll write some condition. So if we do this option dot click, right? So it actually selects all the options. Say for example, without any of this condition, text equal to check, or okay, what we can do is, let me even show that text. It displays that, and then let's say for example, it clicks. This is how we can select all the options. I think this will not select. This is label, right? So you just need to change it to input for that. Okay. So that you can try it out. But for now, what we can do is we wanted to click on it, right? So 1 second. Let's go back. Okay, within this label only, this checkbox is also there, right? So within this label tag, we have input type and also this actual label value. So even we can use this one as well, option dot click. So we wanted to select all the options. What did we do here? So from each option, we use the enhanced for loop. For each option from the list of options, we are getting the text and we are displaying it on the console. Fine. And then we are clicking the option, right? So let's see it here. See, it actually selects all of them. So HTML and CSS are not selected because those were already selected. By default, they were selected. So when you do a click, this we have seen in the last session. So the checkbox, if it is already selected, on clicking it, it will become unselected, right? So again, you need to, if you don't want it to not happen that, then you have to write a condition saying that you only click it if it is not selected. Even this we have verified, right? So that you can put that condition, right? So this is how you actually select all the options. Now I wanted to select only some options out of it, right? So say for example, this one, we wanted to mimic this, right? So we wanted to have an alternate of this. We wanted to select multiple, or let me put it here. Select multiple options. So this is one way you can repeat one statement to select one value, or what we can do is we can write an enhanced for loop here like this, and then so if you do this, it will actually select all the options. So you need to write we have to specify the condition here. What our condition is. So text here should be equal to it has to be equals to whatever you wanted to match, Java, or text equals Python. Like this, you can specify a number of conditions equals Oracle like this. I wanted to select only these three values. I can mention these three values here. So it is same as the earlier one. So earlier we didn't have any condition here. So it will click. So every time it enters into the loop, it clicks on each option, right? Now we have a condition. So if the text or the label, if it is equals this, only then enter into the loop and click on it is what we specified. So as we had a R condition, so it will match Java, Python, and Oracle. So whenever it enters into the loop, it will verify the text, and then whenever it matches one of these values, it will click on that. That option will be selected. So we are not writing the break statement here. If you write the break statement, even once this is executed, right? So one of these conditions is true, then it will click on it and it will come out of the loop. So that is not the intention, right? So we wanted to select all of these options. We wanted to do a multi-selection of these options, right? So we are mentioning the logical OR here. So depending on our requirement, we have to write the logic. So so the option text, it matches one of these values, only then we have to click on that option. Is the logic we have written here, right? So this we call it as multi-selection. So we can even do it with the direct statement, one statement. But say for example, if you wanted to select more options, right? So it will be redundant. Your code looks like it's not like an optimized code. So whenever there is a redundant code, you have to replace it with a loop. So that's the best practice. Yeah, you can see it now. It actually selects Java, Python, and Oracle, right? So same as the earlier one, but so earlier we selected or select all, and before that we selected individual options here using the statement, each statement. One statement we have written to select one option, right? Instead of that, this is an alternate. Alternate method to select multiple options. And if you wanted to select all the options, you will not specify any condition here. With that, it will actually select all the options. And again, if you wanted to check that if the checkbox is already selected, you can write this condition. If option is not selected, only then you click on it. If it is already selected, skip it. This condition, you can add it. So this is how you can actually automate the dropdown which doesn't have the select tag. And this is how you can actually select the multi-select dropdown. You can select more than one. What is multi-select dropdown? You can select more than one option within the dropdown. That's what we call it as multi-select dropdown. Is that clear? Multiple options. All right. Now we'll see next one. Say, for example, I go to google.com and I'll just type in Selenium tutorial. So if we do like this, if I type in something in the Google, right? So there is no guarantee that you'll always get these results, right? Within the dropdown. So this is also a dropdown, if you observe. So it is auto-suggestion dropdown. So when you're typing something in the Google search, it is auto-suggesting you. So you don't need to even type the whole part. It is auto-suggesting you to select one of the options. One of the best suggested options you can select. So this is auto-suggestion by Google, right? So this is even a drop-down. So how do we automate this in this case? So say, for example, you wanted to select one of these values, right? So how do we select it? These are like not, consistent, or this will not be the fixed ones. It's not a static content. It's dynamic, right? So depending upon the string which you enter, this changes. So how do we actually automate in that case? So let's see that. I'll call it as auto-suggestion dropdown. It's google.com, right? So we wanted to automate it. All right. No, we wanted to actually put some string for search here, right? So we need to inspect this element. We wanted to enter into some text into this, right? So this is the input field. It's called text area here. And you can see there are multiple attributes for this, right? So you have to choose one, which is like not dynamic. By dot title also you can take an attribute called title, or we even have name here, right? So we can use name as well. So there is an option called Q. So we can use name attribute, driver dot find element by dot name. It's only Q dot send keys. We wanted to pass some string to it, right? Send keys. I'll pass Selenium tutorial. It's a search box, right? All right, what did we do here? We navigated to google.com and we just entered some text into it, right? It is auto suggesting us now, right? So it will actually auto suggest us. So from that list of values, we wanted to say, for example, first part, what we'll do is how many it is suggesting. We wanted to get a count of it. See, it is suggesting some values here, right? So we wanted to get the count of it. So whenever we wanted to get the count of it, so what do we do? We actually need to select this part. So you have to select it, put your cursor like this, exactly at the corner of this, right? So that it will actually select all the options. So that you'll come to know the common class of it. So if you see here, is this a common class? Yes, seems to be, right? Within this, we have these div classes. Yeah, if you see, this is the div which is actually selecting all the items in the dropdown. And if you see, it again has a unordered list. So you can take this unordered list, and within it, it again has some list items. So like usually the dropdown will have UL, which will be common for all the dropdown options, and then LIC here. So if you observe, even here we don't have the select class. So again, we need to depend on the XPath, right? So if you see here, UL is common for all the elements, and each LI is representing one dropdown here. See, when I'm hovering on this, it will select the next option like that. So all these are LI tags. LI tags, one LI tag here is representing one drop-down option within it, right? So how do you write the XPath for it? Let's take the help of selector step even, or we should not use this class here. So if you use this class name, so it seems to be like dynamic, right? So you can use this as well. It is selecting only one element, fine. Within this, we have list, and then within the list, if you expand it, so we have some div. Within the div, yeah, this is the actual div or what? No, this is selecting search. This is selecting the actual value. Okay, so we have to go inside it, and yeah, this is the actually selecting the value of it. So you can select one of these options, right? li, and within that there is div. So the div is not within immediately after it. You can say div to, or you can just say div of it like this, related to path of it. It is selecting 140 elements. So you have to specify, there are so many divs within it, right? So you have to select one attribute within this div. So we can select, if you see, ID seems to be dynamic, area label, area description, all this. So we can use role here. Role is a attribute which has the value as option. So let's use role. Now it is selecting 10 elements. So we can use this as a XPath, right? So you can even remove this. UL video. Oh, okay. We can have this and we can remove this div class even. See, it is selecting 10 elements. So how did we construct the XPath is? So we have found the common one. Common one will be the unordered list for all the list items. So we started with it. So UL and an attribute for it, attribute. So just to make sure we had an attribute of the unordered list. We have taken role list box still here. This is fine now, right? So now what did we do? From it, we wanted LIs, each LI, right? So we just use //li, which actually selects all the list items. From that, yeah, even this is enough for us. So we wanted all the list, right? So under UL, we want all the LIs. Even this would be sufficient enough for us. So let's write the XPath till here. That's fine for us. So it is actually getting all the elements for us, right? So this is all elements, right? So we'll select driver dot find elements by dot XPath, this one, which is actually giving us all the elements, right? So again, this is list of web elements, right? It is returning list of web elements. We'll capture that into a list. So you have to be careful while writing the XPath for the dropdowns, right? So dynamic auto-suggestion dropdowns like this, because you have to see the common part first, common one, which is selecting all the dropdowns, and then all this we are doing just to get the count of the options within the dropdown, right? So UL, and then within it it has LIs. So each list, so each option is represented with one list tag or LI tag. So this is how we constructed the XPath, our own XPath. So we can take the selector sub one, but the class name seems to be dynamic, right? So or else you can directly take the related XPath suggested by selector sub. So if it is not like static content, so then you should always try to construct our own XPath like this. All right. So now we got the list of options here. So from this list of options, what we wanted to do? We usually get the count of it, right? Number of options is list of options dot size. We'll get how many it has. It has 10 element suggestions, right? So 10 has to be displayed here. And along with it, like again, we wanted to actually, let's select one of them instead of displaying all of them. So let's actually click on one of them. So say for example, I click on the first one, Selenium tutorial. The first suggestion is Selenium tutorial, right? So if I click on this, I'll be navigated to this page, right? So let's try to automate that. So how do we get that Selenium tutorial? Number of options we have displayed. So we'll write it. Again, we can write an enhanced for loop from all the list of options. I need a web element. I wanted to read each option and what we wanted to perform. So first we wanted to get the text from it. Option dot give text because option is a web element, right? Then we wanted to display this text. So if you just wanted to display the text, you can display it on the console. Then we'll write a condition. If my text equals what it has to equal. So you can verify here. So the first suggestion is Selenium tutorial, right? So let's actually copy this Selenium tutorial in lowercase. If this is the case, then what we wanted to do, we wanted to click on the option dot click. And after clicking, we don't want it to iterate more, right? So we can only select one here. So if you see here, this auto suggestion, you can't, this is not a multi-select dropdown. You can only select one. As soon as you select one, it will just navigate, it will take that as a search input and it will navigate to that particular web page results web page, right? So there is no need, we need to iterate it, right? Through all the options. We can just come out of the loop by writing the break statement. So just to reiterate, what did we do here? So we just navigated to google.com and we entered some text into the search box, right? So then we wanted to get the count of all the auto suggestion strings. We wanted to get the count of it. So we have written the XPath for it, captured that into the list of web elements, got the size of it. So which actually returns the number of options which were suggested automatically by Google, which we call it as auto suggestion, right? So that number of options we are displayed, and we just wanted to select one of the options from it, right? So we have used the enhanced for loop for that, and we are selecting one of the options in it. So how do we select? You just need to click on one of the options. So that is what we did here. Number of options, 0. What happened? So this might not have located the XPath correctly. So let's go back. Oh, okay, I got it. So when it is saying tutorial, right? So our script was so fast that it was trying to find these options. Even so, it was so fast. Even if we enter this, right, it was trying to get the count of it, right? So immediately after entering this text, it is trying to find this list of web elements, right? So, but it will take some time. It will be in milliseconds, but it will take some time to get this all list, right? So as you enter this, it will take some time to populate. See, it takes some time, some milliseconds to populate it. So by that time, so this line of code is getting executed and it will not find any suggestions, auto suggestions. That's why it is returning 0, count as 0. So in this case, we can use some wait time. So you can use either thread or strip. So, okay. Anyway, we learn the weights now, right? So we can directly use the implicit weight as well. So let's use implicit weight. Driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicitly wait for a duration of 5 seconds is also enough, or 3 seconds, or okay, let's give some 5 seconds, that's enough. So within 5 seconds we'll get all the suggestions, so which will be applicable to this, and after that it will try to find this. I think if this was not successful, then we would have got no such element exception. Okay, number of options 10, Selenium tutorial. Yeah, see, it actually navigates to the right URL. So in such cases, you have to use the implicit wait, right? So it's always better you define the implicit wait when there is some waiting time for any options to load, right? So you always include this implicit wait beginning of your script. Yeah, you can see here. So it clicks on the first link and it actually navigates to a different page, right? So this is how you can actually automate the auto suggest drop downs. Is it clear? So what did we learn in this session? We understood like what's a drop down is. So under drop down, we have some options. We will call some items. We will call it as options. So we can either select one. So some drop downs allows us to select only one option, and in some drop downs allows us to select multiple options within the drop down. So we have seen two use cases like selecting one option within the drop down, and we have seen even the multiple selection drop down as well. And for multiple selection drop down, we have also seen some other thing called Bootstrap. That is, it doesn't have the select tag, right? So if it had a select tag, we can use the select class within the Selenium script. But if it doesn't have the select class, we will depend on the XPath, right? So that is what we have seen. And within the, if it has a select class, we can use three methods within the select class. The select class gives us three methods to select the options: select by visible text, select by value, and select by index. We have seen that, and we have seen if there is no select class, we can use the XPath here. XPath to select options that we have seen. And we have also seen auto suggestion dropdown, how to automate auto suggestion dropdown, right? So in the next session, we'll see about the tables. How do we actually automate the web tables? So if you have any questions on the today's topic, you can just put it on the chat box. And for today, you can take some assignments. I'll be providing you some assignment. So this is a website where you can go. So this, you can go to this URL and you see multiple drop downs here, right? So you can try to automate these ones. You can try basic one. It has some options. Try to automate this. And also you can see multiple here. So where you can select multiple options. Try to automate this. And another one is, it is also based on multi-select. You can see colors here, right? So this is drop down, but all the options are visible. So, right, but still it's a drop down. You can select more than one like this. So try to select more than one color here within this drop down. So that will be the assignment for today. So you can watch the recording, practice it, and then also try to solve the assignments.